Hey there, you got me staring at my Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc. I want to talk about this thing, but I have honestly no idea how to introduce it. It's like going up to somebody and saying, hey, you want to see some baby sensory videos? Most people would have the response of, that sounds stupid, until they actually see it, and then they're like, yeah, this is actually pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. The Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc. It was a pack-in title for the original Xbox 360. Now, I can hear you saying, ooh, a pack-in title for the 360. Didn't just about every game that came out on that system get packed in with it at one point? And to that I say, yeah. But this isn't just any ordinary Xbox 360 pack-in title. This is a compilation disc with a bunch of Xbox games that fall under the arcade banner. Now, what qualifies a game to fall under the arcade banner is beyond me, because both Uno and Sonic the Fighters are under the stupid thing.
Pack-in games are something that just about every video game company does. Sega packed in Sonic the Hedgehog with the Genesis to get you to buy it over the Super Nintendo. Nintendo packed in Mario Kart 7 with just about every 3DS model to get you to buy it over the PS Vita. And in a world where Microsoft has yet to get top banana against Sony and Nintendo, pack-in titles are pretty useful tools to attempt to get a leg up, even if they don't work half the time. The Xbox 360 launched in November of 2005 against the PS3, the successor to the PS2, which was and still is the best-selling console ever. The 360 was a large white console that had two models, one unofficially called the Core model, which was the base model, and the other was the Pro model. In October of 2007, a third model was released named the Xbox 360 Arcade, which is where the Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc came from.
There were 4 different versions of the Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc. I don't own the other ones, I only own this one, which is arguably the most common of the 4. And I will admit, this is a pretty neat piece of Xbox history. And despite how common it is, not a lot of people are talking about this. So I am going to do it justice and talk about it.
The Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc is a compilation disc. I mean, it's in the name. This disc contains 5 games that fall under the arcade banner, which, like I said earlier, I have no idea what qualifies a game to get the arcade banner, because both Uno and Sonic the Fighters have this banner. But starting up the disc, we are greeted with a menu that is very reminiscent of the 360's UI when it launched, which makes sense considering that was still the UI at the time of the disc's release. But on this beautifully nostalgic menu, we're given a handful of options, starting with more arcade games. Even though this is like the 7th one on the list, it just takes you to your game library. But going back on the actual first thing on this list, we have the Xbox 360 welcome video. This is a fun little video. It's set up in a way that makes it seem like a TED Talk or something. The video is narrated by a scientist who sounds like he's been running from his past in Europe for a while. The whole video explains how to use the Xbox 360, which is completely irrelevant now, and it tries to sell you on the capabilities of Xbox Live, even though what Nintendo and Sony were offering at the time were completely free. This video also tries to say that casuals could understand the 360, using Uncle Murray as an example. This was obviously a jab at Nintendo, who were dominating the video game market at the time with the Wii and the DS, which both heavily advertised to casuals. The video ends with what I assume to be the narrator dipping his fingers in bare chemicals to play some sick tunes on the beakers, and definitely not to try and remove his fingerprints. Moving on, we have the first game, Boom Boom Rocket. It's a rhythm game. It's a fine rhythm game, but it just feels like something I would play on my phone or the browser of my computer. Next is Feeding Frenzy. It's fine, just like Boom Boom Rocket. It's a game I'd probably play on my phone or Google Chrome, not an Xbox 360. Moving on to Luxor 2. I never played the first Luxor, and oh, come on, guys! Okay, I'll admit it, this game is a tiny bit addicting. I probably played this game more than most of the other games in this collection. But anyway, moving on to the actual games in this collection, we start off with the Pac-Man Championship Edition. And you know what? I think I found a version of Pac-Man I actually like. But all of these games are nothing compared to the masterpiece that is Uno. I have a love-hate relationship with Uno. On one hand, it can be super easy to win, and on the other is your opponent's neck getting choked out for using their third skip a turn on you. But anyway, these 5 games aren't the only games on the Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc. No, it actually has 2 game demos. The first one is Surf's Up, a game based on a movie about surfing penguins, and playing this game for myself, I can confirm this is a surfing penguin. It's faithful to the source material. The next game demo is Viva Pinata, a gardening game that, just like almost everything else on this disc, would feel more at home on my phone. The visuals in this game look fine, but the UI looks like a PowerPoint presentation, and is that Comic Sans?
I now have a deep-rooted hatred for this game just because of their choice of font.
You know what the worst part of this game is? This game was developed by Rare. Yes, Banjo and Kazooie, Donkey Kong Country, Conker's Bad Fur Day Rare. I swear, after Microsoft purchased Rare, they've hardly done anything of significance with them outside of, like, I don't know, 2 things? Safe to say this game isn't that good. But that's okay, because we still have one more submenu in this disc, and that is trailers for upcoming games. One of them is Shrek the Third, and it's alright, and the other is a trailer for Viva Frickin' Pinata.
And that was the Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc. Now, even though this disc is a little underwhelming, it's actually a super interesting piece of Xbox history. Microsoft has always felt like the odd one out compared to Nintendo or Sony, and this disc shows that they're completely capable of making a competent console with really good titles. They just really need to stop circle jerking themselves making VCRs and mini fridges. If you collect Xbox games or just video games in general, I would highly suggest you pick this thing up if you don't have it already. Is it something that you should go back to often? No, but it's still a super interesting piece of Microsoft history. Yeah, that's all I got. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some pretty important business to get back to. Funny pineapple.